Let us march on to victory. and welcome to St. Joseph's Historic Foundation, the Hayti Heritage Center. I'm Angela Lee, Executive Director here at Hayti, and we welcome each and every one of you to this evening as we celebrate spirituals. Our tagline here as Hayti is, preserve the heritage, embrace the experience. There's such a rich legacy here on this very site. Last month we commemorated the 50th anniversary of civil rights protests on this very spot against segregation in restaurants and hotels. Tonight, we're so honored not only to have Dr. West and the 100 Men in Black Chorus, the Reverend Dr. Powery, and the amazing Mr. Ashley Bryan, but Mr. Bryan is a history maker himself. He was the first African-American male to both write and illustrate children's books in the 60s. So it's an honor and a privilege to have him here. This Sunday, we invite all of you back. This Sunday at 4 o'clock, we invite all of you back for the Durham premiere of a dramatic reading, The Best of Enemies, which recounts the true story of the relationship between civil rights activist Ann Atwater and Klansman C.P. Ellis. True story that took place right here in Durham during the 70s, and it's going to be a tremendous experience. We then invite you back later in June for our Heritage Music Series. Here on this stage where you just heard a phenomenal group of young men singing, we're going to have the legendary drummer and orchestra band leader, Mr. Norman Connors. So we invite you to continue to come back to Hayti. Let this be a preferred spot for you and help us through your support to continue to preserve the heritage and embrace the legacy. I want to introduce next Joanne Abel, who is the Humanities Programming Coordinator for the Durham Public Library. And we're so pleased to have this collaboration for this and upcoming events. Joanne, thank you.
Many people work to make this program possible. Rosemary and Joe Villa of the Alizar Press, Angela Lee, Paula Whitted, all the staff of St. Joseph Historic Foundation, Hayti Heritage Center, and Trosa, who moved the piano today at the last minute. So, give it to your Trosa. I also want to acknowledge any county commissioners who are here today. Their support for the Durham County Library is critical for our success. Well, if any of the county commissioners are here, would you please stand so we can acknowledge you? I'd also like to acknowledge any of the Library Board of Trustees or friends of the Durham Library. Would you please stand? Durham Library Foundation that makes humanities programs like this possible. The Durham Library Foundation creates the margin of excellence for Durham County Library and for the Durham community. We are in the public phase of our $1.5 million campaign for the library, and we're more than halfway there. But we do need your support. So if you enjoy the quality programs like this one that the library brings to the community, we need you to support the foundation. I also want to introduce our director, Tammy Baggett. Tammy, would you stand? Who's here? Our campaign theme is it takes all stripes to make a wonderful library. Earn your stripes and support the Durham Library Foundation. The new incoming president of the Durham Library Foundation is Phil Hutchins. Mr. Hutchins, would you please stand? And last but not least, Alice Sharp is the Development Officer of the Durham County Library, and she will be happy to answer any questions you have about the foundation. Now, please join with me and formally welcome again 100 Men in Black, directed by Dr. Marion West and accompanied by Dr. Paul, Harold, and Ray Watkins. I'm sorry, Marlon. Dr. Marlon was. I'm terrible with names. Please forgive me, but welcome them all.
Thank you so much for coming out this afternoon. I believe we have a piece that's going to be displayed on the screen that is a group song that you all recall. It is him. We're going to ask Mr. Reginald Boynton if he will come down and take the mic. And he's going to sing a solo or sing a verse, and we're going to ask you if you just sing right behind. He's got the whole world in his hands, you know.
He's got the whole Ain't God good? Who wouldn't serve a God like this? He who holds the whole world in his hand. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. A band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet old chariot. It's kind of hard to sing and cry at the same time. Coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. I looked over Jordan. What did I see? Coming for to carry me home. Swing down, old chariot, and let your child ride. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Sweet Lord, yes. Sweet chariot, oh yes you are. Coming for to carry. One little day, I want to ride that chariot. Listen to me. I said I look over before I do. Coming forth to carry me home. Tell all my friends and my mother and father too. You are coming forth to carry me home. Sweet Lord, sweet Lord, sweet Savior. Oh, coming forth to carry me home. Sweet Lord, sweet Lord, sweet Savior. Oh, yes. Coming forth to carry me It may be two white horses. It might be a pinto in there. It may be a black and white horse. But anyway, all you asking God to do, out of all your hard trials, your tribulations in life, lied on, persecuted, talked about. You show me somebody here don't want to make heaven their home. Huh? But ain't God good? Saints, we are going through something now. If you don't take time out and pay attention, you're going to be lost. There's so much crime, killing, stealing in the land. Mothers against daughters, fathers against sons. You can't tell nobody nothing because you know everything. So much crime, stealing. And every time you turn your television on, somebody that got shot, stabbed, or raped. Saints, we serve a true and living God. It makes no difference who you are. It makes no difference where you come from. I don't care if you're rich. I don't care if you're poor. The same God reigns on the just as well as the unjust. We're all the God's children. I didn't come to preach. I just stopped by to let you know how good God is. And when you wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and brush your teeth, say, Lord, I thank you for another day.
Jacob's ladder, we are climbing Jacob's ladder, soldier of the road. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder, soldier of the road. Every round goes higher, higher. Every round goes higher, higher. Every round goes higher, higher. Soldier of the road. Every round goes higher, higher. Every round goes higher, higher. Every round goes higher, higher. Soldiers of the road. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder, soldiers of the road. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder, soldiers of the road.
That was Reverend Eric Woods. The next selection, All Freedom.
We Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. When I was a sinner, I prayed both night and day. I asked the Lord to tell me, and He showed me the way. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. When I was a sinner, I prayed both night and day. I asked the Lord to help me, and He showed me the way.
just get you started with the call response since you seem to be warmed up. Ashley Bryan's spirit helps us all to shine. Ashley Bryan's spirit helps us all to shine. Any friend of Ashley's is a friend of mine. And I have been collecting so many friends because of my friendship with Ashley Bryan. My name is Rosemary Gullah, and I have the great good privilege of being the publisher of the new editions of these beautiful images that you've been enjoying and that we have out there. These books have been out of print and they weren't coming back in, and Ashley spent 3 years making each one of them. They had to come back. They had to be given a voice once again. Well, imagine my extreme joy when I found out that the new dean of Duke Chapel was going to be the Reverend Dr. Luke Powery. Really? Reverend Dr. Luke Powery, who wrote Dem Dry Bones, Preaching Death and Hope, using spirituals. Spirit speech coming. I publish the spirituals. He knows a lot about the spirituals. I was teaching Sunday school one Sunday, and I met 2 new children in the class. I said, "What are your names?" And it was Zachary and Mariah, and "Where did you come from?" "Oh, Princeton, New Jersey." I said, "Oh, I originally came from Philadelphia. It's so nice to meet you. I always went to Jersey." "What's your last name?" "Powery." "Really?" There is so much wonderful divine providential care in this world, and I have been the recipient of so much of it. And I want you to enjoy and meet your new friend, Reverend Dr. Luke Powery.
Good evening. Let me just say, as someone who is new to the Durham area, I'm glad to be in the number this evening with Ashley Bryan and also the 100 Men in Black. Can we thank them again? I was asked to, I think we've already heard some sermons earlier during the, and I am a preacher, but I won't preach tonight, even though we've had church in some way. I was asked to put the spirituals into historical context. But it's difficult for me to think about doing that, to think about just talking about the spirituals and not singing them or intoning them. They're meant to be sung. They're songs. So hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? The sounds like Jesus. Oh, somebody's calling my name. Oh, sounds like Jesus. Somebody's calling my name and yours sounds like Jesus. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, oh my Lord, and what shall I do? Oh, I'm so glad trouble don't last always. I'm so glad, aren't you glad? Trouble don't last always. I'm so glad trouble don't last always. Oh my Lord, 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 and what shall I do? Before the blues, jazz, gospel, and hip-hop, there were the spirituals. Musical paintings of the human soul in the color of music. They are what W.E.B. Du Bois calls haunting echoes that continue to reverberate down the acoustical corridors of human history. The spirituals were forged in the flame of slavery. They are rooted in the historical setting of oppression of African peoples in the Americas in what has been described as terror. From the cool, cruel middle passage of slavery to the so-called New World in the belly of slave ships, music came in the form of human moans and shrieks, surrounded by the aroma of filth and stench of death. Life was so degrading that one person writes that in the belly of the slave ships, lament, danced, and swayed under the watchful eyes of the crew. The spirituals, then, can be thought of as musical memorabilia created on the anvil of misery. As we sang earlier, lift every voice, we have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading a path through the blood of the slaughtered. In this death-dealing context, these songs were literally a matter of life and death. It's as James Weldon Johnson writes, he says, it should be remembered that in scarcely no instance was anything humorous intended with the spirituals. It's a serious story because our musical, historical memory is moist with human blood. This is why Billie Holiday, the jazz great, could sing, Southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root. Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. It comes as no surprise then that one might hear, soon will be done with the troubles of the world. The troubles of the world. The troubles of the world. Soon will be done with the troubles of the world. Going home to live with God. No more weeping and wailing. I want, oh, I want to meet my Father. I want, oh, I want to meet my mother, going home to live with God. So Johnson also says that it is strange, he writes, that from these people enduring such harsh realities, this noble music sprang. He writes they were suddenly cut off from the moorings of their native culture, scattered without regard to their old tribal relations, having to adjust themselves to a completely alien civilization, having to learn a strange language. Howard Thurman concurs when he says human slavery has been greatly romanticized by the illusion of distance, the mint julep, the long southern twilight, and the lazy sweetness of blooming magnolias. But it must be intimately remembered that slavery was a dirty, sordid, inhumane business. That when the slaves were taken from their homeland, the primary social unit was destroyed, and all immediate tribal and family ties were ruthlessly broken. This meant that the severing of the link that gave the individual African a sense of persona. There is no more helpless and hapless victim than one who is cut off from family, from language, from one's roots. In other words, the spirituals rose out of a situation not only of physical death, but social death. And so we can hear at times also, sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Do you know any motherless children? Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long ways from home. A long ways from home. So oppression seeks to destroy one's humanity, yet these songs are sung by those whose humanity was under attack. A context of death, such as slavery, could not mute this life-giving music. Though they were snatched from Africa, they did not lose their song. That is the miracle. They sang in a strange land, in exile, because their music was portable. These songs are called spirituals because they were believed to have a divine origin. From the very beginning, listen to what one ex-slave from Kentucky says. Us old heads used to make them, speaking about the spirituals, on the spur of the moment. after we wrestle with the Spirit and come through. But the tunes were brought from Africa by our granddaddies. They was just Miller's song. They calls them spirituals because the Holy Spirit done revealed them to us. Or we even hear from the cultural story known as High John the Conqueror. High John comes on the waves of sound. And in that story, God, or in the story, God is called the Old Maker, made the slaves a tune without words at his workbench. And it was a tune you could bend and shape according to your feelings and circumstances. So the spirituals are from the Spirit, and their tune, their sound is significant. The spirituals, by their sound, become a dissenting voice. So the sounds of the spirituals are full of meaning. And so with the melody, the enslaved responded to a situation of death and suffering. Song was a non-violent weapon against oppression. One sang to counter death, and this was natural for those whose, and I quote, whose soul is a song, and whose life, a life of song. Sometimes we hear that music was the soul of the civil rights music. And I would say indeed so. But it was and is the soul of black folks. If you're familiar with W.E.B. Du Bois and his book, The Souls of Black Folks, he does something very interesting at the beginning of each chapter. He has an epigraph, a musical refrain of a spiritual at the beginning of each chapter in his book, The Soul of Black Folks, to indicate that the soul of black folks, according to Du Bois, is a song, the spiritual specifically. So the soul sang through death and unto death. It is, as Du Bois also says, that the enslaved brought a gift of story and song to the Americas. And they endured great suffering, but not without a song. To sing was to live. Singing was a vital response to death, because by doing so, the enslaved were countering death with life. For the slave, without a song, life would be destroyed by death, because through the spiritual, the enslaved could chant new life. One scholar even says that the balm in Gilead, not the song, but the balm, the healing, the balm in Gilead was the spiritual itself. The actual phenomenon of singing was life-giving and a means of survival. Melodies paved the path towards freedom. And without these melodies, many would not have survived. If they wanted to live, they had to sing. One former slave, Vinnie Brunson, said that singing was the way the slave expressed his feelings, and it made him relieved. These songs gave strength to the weak and weary. They chose to sing rather than to song. The spirituals were, as someone else says, the slave's complete and final refusal to be stopped. It was a glad defiance of life bubbling up. And of course that happened in community. The songs themselves imply the community. In African music, it is rare that someone might play for another, historically. Rather, the person plays or sings with someone else. And what we see in the spirituals, and even tonight, what we find in the nature of the spirituals, we don't know who created them. There is no composer listed. There is no place of origin listed. It's unknown, or as James Weldon Johnson says, the unknown black bards from his 1922 poem, O Black and Unknown Bards. And so these songs are for a community, with a community, They are a collective exorcism of selfish individualism. We see it play out through the various call and response songs that happen, that we might even hear later. Wade in the water as an example. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water, God's going to trouble the water. The leader sings, see that band all dressed in white. God's going to trouble the water. That's good. The leader looks like an Israelite. God's going to trouble the water. Wade, wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Yeah, y'all can sing. Or I should say all y'all, as they say. But it's a community song. It's not just my song. It's our song, fighting for life, striving for life, even if it happens in secret, in what was called the invisible institution, the slave religious meetings, and even at times we would see the community gatherings were viewed as a threat to the social order. And so many times the slave masters would forbade these gatherings, even for funerals. And so it lifts up the significance of singing, I think, and the power of song, not only in the system of slavery historically, but it also raises a question for us about the role and function of song in our communities, in our groups, in our churches or synagogues. But for the enslaved, what we see is singing as a form of resistance, not just the survival, but resisting that which was happening, resisting death, blatantly, of course, at times, where we hear songs such as "No More Auction Block for Me," "No More Peck of Corn," "No More Driver's Lash for Me," "No More Mistress Call for Me," "Many Thousand Gone." But also, more subtly, where what is called the double code, or the mass, a pantomime of survival. It's a secret protest against pain. And so, like "Go Down to Moses" that we sang earlier, right? It's not just about the Exodus motif. It is about that, but there's also something underneath the surface where one may see the enslaved as Israel, Egypt was the bondage of earthly slavery, and Pharaoh were the slave masters. And the enslaved used the spirituals as secret modes of communication that sometimes only the community understood. Would steal away. There's a great camp meeting. Walk together, children. Don't get weary. Wade in the water. Could be hidden messages to say, let's gather together in a secret place. And so these songs were not just melodies of heaven, so to speak, but are also tunes deeply rooted on earth. I'll close with this. Moses, Harriet Tubman, who masked her plan to escape to freedom through a song. This is a historical account. The evening before she left, she wished very much to bid her companions farewell, but was afraid of being betrayed if anyone knew of her intentions. So she passed through the streets singing, "Goodbye, I'm going to leave you. Goodbye, I'll meet you in the kingdom," and similar snatches of Methodist songs. As she passed on singing, she saw her master, Dr. Thompson, standing at his gate, and her native humor breaking out. She sung yet louder, bowing down to him, "Goodbye, I'm going to leave you." He stopped and looked after her as she passed on, and he afterwards said that as her voice came floating back in the evening air, it seemed as if a wave of trouble never rolled across her peaceful breast. Tubman masked her real intentions to escape by talking about leaving for the kingdom. So these spirituals may be called sorrow songs, but they are also songs of hope and breathe, a breath of hope, a faith in the ultimate justice of things. The minor cadences of despair change often to triumph and calm confidence. So when the biblical prophet asks, "Is there a balm in Gilead?" the enslaved respond, "There is a balm in Gilead." To make the wounded whole, to heal the sin-sick soul. And so the spirituals, I think, teach us that singing is a vital and necessary response to situations of suffering. It's been said that in the cotton field, the machete was dull without song. It has been said that songs are free even while in oppressive chains. It has been said that you can't sing and not change your condition. It has been said, he who sings prays twice. It has been said, the gods will not descend without a song. It has been said, sing till the power of the Lord comes down. Singing was a sign of the slave's refusal to be stopped. The song itself, to use the words of Pauline Murray, was hope in a weary throat. Thus, singing is possible and preferable in painful predicaments as a sign of life and death. The spirituals show us that singing is a matter of life and death. Singing in a spiritual mode is not art for art's sake. Singing is life in the crucible of suffering. And so these songs were not just songs of the soul, but they were life itself. And so as we sing tonight, we're singing life. Singing was living and life was a song. If we don't sing, we will die to the sting of suffering. So let me encourage you to sing on. I'm gonna sing when the Spirit says to sing. I'm gonna sing when the Spirit says to sing. You can sing. I'm gonna sing when the Spirit says to sing. And obey the Spirit of the Lord. I'm gonna stand when the Spirit says to stand. Come on, stand. I'm gonna stand when the Spirit says to stand. I'm gonna stand when the Spirit says to stand. And obey the Spirit of the Lord. Oh, I'm gonna clap when the Spirit says to clap. When the Spirit says to clap, and obey the Spirit of the Lord. Oh, I'm gonna dance. So when the Spirit says to dance, I'm gonna dance. When the Spirit says to dance, I'm gonna dance. When the Spirit says to dance, and obey the Spirit of the Lord. Oh, I'm gonna moan when the Spirit says to moan. I'm gonna moan when the Spirit says to moan. I'm gonna moan when the Spirit says to moan.
faculty in the School of Library and Information Sciences at North Carolina Central. And it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Ashley Bryan. All right. Now we've been to church this evening. Amen. Now we're going to school. I'm the teacher, you're my students. It's day one. Instead of calling the roll first, we're going to have a quiz. Now, if you don't know the answer to the questions, it's all right. We'll have all year to get that done. But if you don't know, I have a solution for you. It will come to you very quickly. Question number one. Why is it a truly wonderful world, especially for children? Do you know the answer? You don't know the answer, but there's a person who does know the answer. We'll all ask Ashley. Number two, he's not afraid of the monsters, the two-headed giant and his three-headed brother. What does he care? He has his mangoes and the sunshine and his food. And he isn't scared one bit. Or is he really scared? Do you know the answer? Ask Ashley. Thank you, you're catching on. Number three, who built the stable where Jesus lay? Do you know the answer? Very good. Number four, why was blackbird voted the most beautiful bird in the world? Do you know? Number five, you're getting better now. Exactly what makes all things bright and beautiful? You'll have to ask him, have you ever heard a cat purr? What makes that sound? Why do cats purr? Ashley, I'm sure has the answer. Number seven, Granny Anika loved to sing and dance, and she had rhythm, and she tended to her vegetables, which grew strong and good. But Spider Anansi strutted all day long. He would not work. He was a trickster, and he wanted the vegetables. Did he get them? Yes, he did. I'll give you part of the answer. He did, but the question is, how did he get them? Ashley. Number eight, can you name, this is good, 25 African American poets in 10 seconds? We'll ask Ashley to do it, and we'll give him 5 more, so he can do it in 15, we expect. Number 9, long ago, thunder and lightning did not live in the sky. Ma Sheep Thunder and her son Ram Lightning lived on earth. Why do they live in the sky now? You'll have to ask. Final one, if you get this one, you get 100. I'll just give you extra points because we were slow in the beginning. How did animals get their tails? All right, that was the best answer. We'll ask Ashley. The answers to the questions can be found in the following books. Librarians always document their sources, as I have done. Ashley really does know the answers to these questions because they're in the books that he wrote and illustrated. They are in the order of the quiz: What a Wonderful World, Can't Scare Me, Who Built the Stable, Beautiful Blackbird, All Things Bright and Beautiful, Cats Purr, Dancing Granny, Ashley Bryan's ABCs of African American Poetry, The Story of Lightning and Thunder, and Beat the Drum, Pum Pum. These are only 10 of the more than 40 books Ashley has written and published. Ashley Bryan paints beautiful, stunning pictures to go with very stimulating words. He is an artist and a writer, and sometimes he draws people for other authors and makes their stories come alive with dazzling and delightful drawings. Ashley grew up in the Bronx in New York City during the Depression. He had 5 brothers and sisters and 3 cousins who were siblings to him. He loved to paint and draw at an early age. When his sisters and brothers would dance and play games, he would sit and draw in his own private world, which he envisioned as a quiet studio. He also played the guitar. His father was a printer. This was important for Ashley because his father would bring home papers left from printing jobs. Those leftovers, of course, would become Ashley's art projects. Ashley published his first book in kindergarten. He made a book of letters, a picture for each letter, which, sewn together, needle and thread, became a published alphabet book. His love for poetry began in school, and each morning his class began with poetry recitations by the students. Ashley wrote in his autobiography entitled Words to My Life's Songs, published in 2009, that the understanding of poetry as a performance art has never left him. It is at the heart of all of his work. Growing up, his mother would read to the children from the Bible. He loved going to church and is very proud of an impressive record of perfect Sunday school attendance for several years. He graduated from high school at 16 and won a scholarship to study art at the Cooper Union School of Art. He is a collector of things from the streets, things from the beaches. Earlier and even now, he would make new objects from the collected objects. He experimented with paper mache and has made glass panels reminiscent of stained glass windows. Using bones, driftwood, and shells, he has made hand puppets for staging African folklore plays for his neighbors. He served in the U.S. Army during World War II. We thank him for his service. He studied art in Maine and discovered the Cranberry Isles off the coast of Maine, which has now become his home. He has a degree in philosophy from Columbia University, where while there, he continued to paint. He studied painting more in France, and upon his return home to the Bronx, he taught art. He also spent time in Germany and studied the German language and German poetry, all the while continuing his painting and sketching. In 1962, his work caught the attention of the editor Jean Carl of Athenaeum Publishers. She wanted to publish his works and thus began the rich and laudatory career as we know it today. He was 40 years old when that first book was published, but it really wasn't the first book. But remember, he had published in kindergarten. When people do such great things as Ashley has done, they receive awards. Ashley has received many, including the Coretta Scott King Award for Writing and Illustrating 9 times, beginning in 1981. Most recently, the Virginia Hamilton Award for Lifetime Achievement, awarded earlier last year. The Lee Bennett Hopkins Poetry Award from the Pennsylvania State University. The Lupine Award from the Maine Library Association. The Laura Ingalls Wilder Medal for the Achievement in Children's Literature. And he has been a Mayfield Arbuthnot lecturer. All of what I have shared is significant backdrop for our purpose here this evening. Intellectually intrigued and divinely inspired by Black American spirituals, Ashley searched for collections of the songs to offer as gifts to family and friends. Disappointed in his discoveries, he collected and illustrated his first book of spirituals, Walk Together Children, Black American Spirituals, in 1974. This award-winning book was accompanied by I'm Going to Sing, Black American Spirituals, Volume 2, published in 1982. Those editions are out of print, but not out of sight or mind. We expressed our deepest gratitude to Rosemary and Joe Gullah of Al-Azhar Press for their foresight and commitment to the preservation of a most cherished aspect of the African American experience, its song. We thank Ashley, the originator, and we thank Rosemary and Joe, the perpetuators of this distinguished gift in the revised editions published last year. Ladies and gentlemen, and our children who have joined us this evening, with deep affection and respect, I present my colleague and very special friend, I haven't finished yet, beloved artist, illustrator, poet, and teacher, who have answered to all of the questions that you may. Ashley Bryan.
You know, it's been an extraordinary evening. The songs of black slaves have been given to us as such a rich gift by the 100 Black Men, by Dean Powery, and just that is so filling, you don't need another word. You've got so much to take home with you already, because the incredible spirit of those songs, which have lived in me as a child growing and hearing those songs, led me to always draw the pictures to the words. And that's how my first books came out, when at that time there were no books introducing the spirituals to children. The books that had been done for adults in the late 20s were out of print as well. This tremendous gift, there was no resource. Throughout the country as I traveled, if I asked the children, does anyone here know a spiritual? No hand goes up. I say an African-American spiritual, a Negro spiritual, an African. But when I thought, he's got the whole, they sing me down. This is Guatemala, they sing me down. The children know the spirituals in the United States generally. They are not taught historically. They sing them, but they do not know where they come from. As I have traveled to other countries, to France, to Germany, to England, there is no schools that I visit, they sing the spirituals. They know that they are a gift from the musical genius of Black American slaves, of people from whom it was forbidden to learn to read or write. And I think it's wonderful things that the spiritual always sung, but I think it's a wonderful thing to acknowledge that they are a gift from Black American slaves. And during the period of slavery, when they were not allowed to speak their own languages, to play their instruments, the songs of the spiritual they created thousands of these songs, which were noted after the Civil War by scholars, musicians, and others in the field. So they've documented thousands of these gifts from Black American slaves. I am so deeply moved by what has gone on from the offerings of Dean Lowry and from the 100 Black men, men in black. I'm join in. But it's that spirit that I love. My work also to pull it together, I like things of the Black American poets because they also are very rarely included in the work of our children. And so I want them to know them. So I do books of the work of the Black American poets. And I love to begin with a poem by Langston Hughes in which we all affirm a love of who we are and a love of our people. So everyone with me. My people!
My people!
By Langston Hughes.
By Langston Hughes.
The night is beautiful.
The night is beautiful.
So the faces of my people.
So the faces of my people.
The They send me to eat in the kitchen.
They send me to eat in the kitchen.
When company comes,
When company comes.
but I laugh. And eat well. And grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes.
Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes.
Nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then.
Nobody says to eat in the kitchen.
Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am.
Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am.
And be ashamed.
And be ashamed.
I too am America.
I too am America.
A poet was in such a way, I think that when I am with my groups, I ask them, it's that, back and forth chant that is so much a part of African life. And I like to introduce them to poets, like I'll say a poem, let's do a poem by Nikki Giovanni. I say this true, I know nobody here likes chocolate, and there's an uproar. Okay, the reason I like chocolate.
The reason I like chocolate.
By Nikki Giovanni.
By Nikki Giovanni.
The reason I like chocolate.
The reason I like chocolate.
Is I can lick my fingers. And nobody says, I'm not polite.
I'm not polite.
I especially like scary movies. Because then I can snuggle with my mommy. Or my big sister. And they don't laugh. I like to cry sometimes. Because everybody says, what's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter? Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry. And I like books. He likes books. She likes books. We like books. Books, books, books. We like books. Books, books, books. For all those reasons. And especially because. Books make me happy. Books make me happy. Happy, happy, happy. Books make me happy. And I really like. He really likes. She really likes. We really like. We really like. To be happy. And there's just so much wonderful play of the voice that poetry offers. And I work with it through the Black American poets because when I write an African folktale based on a document, I'm trying to get a spirit of the oral tradition in the words. And I use poetry in my prose to open up that spirit to approach the oral tradition of hundreds of African tribal languages, which scholars have worked with to get written alphabets of the languages and alphabets of the languages, and to use often stories to get that down. Now, in closing, I just like to say there's one poem which talks about what you've been experiencing tonight through the gifts of our presenters, that which is in oneself, which you create and offer. Whatever talent, whatever gifts you have, I say to the children, don't run to just say a birthday, give me $5 to buy you a present. No, create something. It can be something you've drawn. It can be a poem that you've learned. And I work with ranges of poems. They have quite a selection before they start following out even more of the Black American poets to include in the work they are doing. But this is a poem by Eloise Greenfield that tells about creating and opening up oneself through that gift. Things. 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 By Eloise Greenfield. By Eloise Greenfield. Who went to the corner. Went to the corner. Walked in the store. Walked in the store. Bought me some candy. Bought me some candy. Ain't got it no more. 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 Went to the beach. I went to the beach. And laid on the shore. And laid on the shore. Built me a sand house. Built me a sand house. Ain't got it no more. 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 Went to the kitchen. I went to the kitchen. Lay down on the floor. Lay down on the floor. Made me a poem. Made me a poem. Still got it. 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 Still got it.
He knows the poems. My plate. I wonder what they're going to do. They're kind of in the program now, actually. We got all these more songs. I don't know what to do. Okay.
The 100 Men in Black, they are coming back. I see them there. If this is a restroom break, we'll accept you back too.
Your daddy was up there. talking about the end on the table, so you next that one.
It's like the shortest one.
Okay, I see. You look at straight ahead.
I just wanted to announce just briefly that Ashley Bryan will be signing books afterwards, just so you know.
Let us pray together on our knees. Let us pray together on our knees. When I fall on my knees with my face to the rising sun, oh Lord, have mercy on me. Let us pray together on our knees. When I fall on my knees with my face to the rising sun, oh Lord, have mercy on me. Let us drink wine together on our knees. Let us drink wine together on our knees. When I fall on my knees with my face to the rising sun, oh Lord, have mercy on me. Oh Lord, have mercy on me. We need your mercy. Have mercy on me. Well, I'm gonna go to heaven. God sent down here from heaven. So it's good enough for me. So give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. Yes, I want that old time religion. I want that old time religion. I want some old time religion. Oh, good enough for me. Give me that old time religion. I know you want that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me.
Next song I'm going to do is acapella. It's steady, more no more. Gonna lay down my burdens down by the riverside. I like to lay my burdens down there legally. How about that?
Gonna lay down my burdens down by the riverside, way down by the riverside, way down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my burdens down by the riverside. Study won't no more. Ain't gonna study won't no more.
This time we're going to be treated by a piece with flute, Mr. Joe Geller and Steve Dickerson. Still.
Steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. Steal away home. I ain't got no to stay here. My Lord, He calls me by the thunder. The trumpet sound within my soul. I ain't got long to stay here. Steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. Steal away home. I ain't got long to stay here. Green trees a-bending, poor sinners stand a-trembling. The trumpet sound within my soul. I ain't got long to stay here. Steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. Steal away home. I ain't got long to stay here.
As we get ready to bring our spirituals to a close this evening, just personally on behalf of One Women in Black, I'd like to say thank you for your presence. Brief announcements, and one is to let you know that the young men that you see here, thank you for the support and scholarship, sponsorship, and just to let you know that we're looking at recruiting for youth males for our men's chorus. Our goal is already to have 50 or 100 youth men or youth males in the stores, as well as adult males and role models. So there are singers out here, if you know others who would like to sing, you're encouraged to join. Just see any member of the chorus and go to our website. And we'd love to talk with you about being a part of the group. Last but not least, our annual concert is every October the second week in October. This year, Sunday, October 13th, 5 o'clock in Raleigh, which is a little different this year, at Wake Chapel Church. Please keep that in mind, and we'll try to make the public totally aware of our concert in October. And again, this evening, thank you. Mr. Watkins on piano. Dr. Paula Carroll on piano. Thank you. Our part of this, we're going to close our piece of this with a selection that is a group song. You know, for group songs, we love to sing and clap and move. So our last song is "Oh, When the Saints." Would you say?
Praise the Lord. How many are going to be in that number when the saints go marching in? Raise your hand. Amen. Don't you want to be in that number? That magnificent number when the saints go rocking in. Hallelujah. So if you know this song, help me sing it. Amen. Oh,